Today I'm going to show you what my private messages look like. The voice of the oppressed are ringing into my DMs day in and day out. And I will share with you. I will share with you the plight of a gamer. Listen to him, for he speaks wisdom.
This is the starting area. This is literally where you start the game. And right off the bat, I could show you how this game sucks. Just immediately. That's it! I don't need to make any more arguments. This game fucking sucks!
Right? And so that's what I like to call the voice of sanity. That's what I like to call common sense. This is an individual that I would consider to be a normie. You know, the average guy that goes and slaves into the wage cage where he is lectured that he is a piece of shit for being a cisgender white man and he has privilege. And after finally escaping from that hellhole, he goes to his house where he takes care of his family and his children. And after a day where he is absolutely tired and wants to relax so he can get on with the madness for the next day, he wants to play a video game. Now he's not an ideologue, right? Like, he doesn't understand the Kirche bridge, the way that everything is interconnected to society. No. He doesn't understand all of that. All he understands is that his game is shit. And it takes him like 20, maybe 30 seconds to understand that the game is shit. And the interesting part is, like, we are living in the dark age of the Imperium. When we can look at our history and we can notice that people used to create monumental things in the past. And we just can't reproduce them anymore. We just do not know how. And the fascinating stuff is that when you look at games that came out a decade ago, and again, I encourage people to play them, just so you can see, like, you must have a Steam library. You must have a collection of games that are old. Just try and play a couple. And what you will notice is that the games are more fun. Their stories are more interesting. They have less bugs. And the physics, like, as you can see in the video on the screen, the physics are much better in the old games than the new. And the graphics aren't that fucking different either. So like, help me understand. Help me understand, because I just don't get it. How is it possible that a game that was made with the technology from a decade ago and had less people working on it is actually better in many ways, and it's also cheaper? Like, the games back then were cheaper. Avowed, it costed people at least $100 if they wanted to play early. What is that shit? Like, back then, they didn't even have the balls to pull that off. You know, there was no, like, Batman Arkham City digital release where you spend like $120 for it and you get to play it 4 days earlier before anyone else. They didn't have that shit. Back then, games were also original. Now it's almost like everything is a The Last of Us cookie cutter. You know, we're talking here about Avowed comparing it to Skyrim, but like, Avowed is actually innovative now. Like, it's groundbreaking in technology because it's not an over-the-shoulder bullshit. But it still has, like, the same mechanics, right? Like, I assume I haven't played, I'm not touching this stuff, right? Like, I'm not a normie like that guy to touch. It's kind of like touching an HIV needle. I'm not putting my hands on it, but I do see the Let's Plays. I do see the trailers. I do see the developers talking about it. I do hear the community managers. It's not like I'm not informed. I probably spend more time doing research on this game than other people that play it. Like, I actually watch streams. I watch other people suffering, and I was praying to Jesus, like, thank God that's not me. And so, like, I get it. You know, like, it's got, like, what, like a crafting system, a leveling up system, like literally every other thing that other games does, but, like, what does it have original? Fucking nothing. There's no originality. There's no innovative concept. Like, back in the day, you had the game coming out like Batman. What was original about Batman? The stealth mechanic, like the way that it did it, where you're hiding on gargoyles and stuff. The fact that you as a character, if someone else has a gun, they almost kill you outright. Like that was an interesting thing for a Batman game, because up until that point, you know, like someone has a gun, it's a third-person adventure game, there's no problem. No, like in Batman, if someone had a gun, you had to use stealth and you had to take them down silently. The detective mode that the game had, like all of it was done in order to work as a Batman game, right? Even the grappling hook, like everything was original. There was no crafting, there was no leveling system because it wasn't needed. Like they channeled what worked for a Batman adventure and they improved on that formula. Meanwhile, when you look at Batman Arkham Knights that came up, no, we gotta bring the leveling back, we gotta bring the crafting system back. If someone has a gun, you can still charge them if you out-level them, right? Like complete homogeneity. Like the global homogeneity needs to be brought into every single fucking video game. And so this is what I'm saying, you know, like there's many cars that are fighting against this, right? Like you got the religious car, right? The Melanie Mac that's like against this from a moral perspective. But that's a tiny car. The entertainment car is fucking affected by this. Like the woke car has crashed into the entertainment car so fucking hard, where the overwhelming majority of people are, that we're now derailing. That's pretty much what's happening. Like you got random individuals, they're just logging on the game and they're immediately noticing, yeah, this game is shit. It feels like I'm in a cardboard world. It feels as if the developers didn't care about making an interesting and immersive game. Like look at this shit. You can't even attack the NPCs, right? You can't role play in a role playing game. It's like a guardrail simulator. And I would understand if this was like back a decade ago. If this was like 10 years ago, it would have made sense because, you know, technology was just coming on and maybe they didn't have the hardware to do any of this. But like we already know how to make games that aren't guardrail simulators. And for $120 a price, there is absolutely no fucking justification why this game can't have a better engine. And if you go online, and I encourage you to do it, there are comparisons between Far Cry 5, I think. Yeah, like Far Cry 5 and Far Cry 2. And again, like Far Cry 2, it doesn't have the graphics. It doesn't have like the NPC personalities of Far Cry 5. But when you look at the engine, like the way a tree burns, the way the bullets ricochet off of various things, the way a car reacts to running into a tree, like all of those things are so realistic. They're so amazing. And people use the small amount of resources that they had back then in order to create a game with passion. And I think like this is the important aspect, right? Like the woke are passionate about sending the message. They're passionate about hiring like-minded people. They're passionate about gatekeeping people who aren't woke. Meanwhile, the gamers back then weren't interested in wokeness. They were passionate about making a video game. They were passionate about entertainment. They were passionate into making sure that their products sold. And so until we notice a change in behavior, a change in mind, well, I guess China is going to dominate the gaming market because they at least get it. They still make games for the purpose of entertainment. And the West just has to catch on now. They gotta change the mindset. They gotta realize that what they are doing is not working. People aren't buying. And unless they want their studios to go bankrupt, they need to change something. Unfortunately, what is happening, by the way, and I'm noticing this, a lot of talented developers from the West are being employed by Chinese companies. So like now you have Tencent going into these companies that are going bankrupt, and they're employing the developers that are skilled, right? So like in Ubisoft, chances are you may still have like 5 or 10 people that are skilled. They're going to be employed by Tencent. So it's not like, oh, these companies are going to go bankrupt and the talented people are going to create their new businesses and they're going to start making AA games that will be successful. No, they're going to be bought off by China. So yeah, I don't know what the future is going to look like, but it does look a little bit grim. Let me know what you think. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.